Good morning and welcome back to Weekend Walkabout in our gardens and years virtually.
We're coming to you from gardenatz.org. I'm Janet McConovich,
I'm Stephen Nicola.
and we're in New Zealand. So we're talking about New Zealand, North Island, Florida this week. And this is part 3, our day trips out of Auckland. First one being their Arataki Nature Center, which is north and south a little bit. It's west of Auckland. This is the Arataki Nature Center, Visitor Center. And across that bay, yes, it is a bay and a reservoir. If I look way across the bay and you have someone with an eye like Steve who can focus differently, way over there is Auckland. We had to come across the Waitaki range of mountains. It was quite the exciting adventure on the narrow road. And our destination was to see the kauri tree. This is a young kauri tree.
Young.
It is the largest tree in New Zealand and is probably the main reason that New Zealand was originally heavily colonized or settled. Was because the mariners that went by looked at this incredible 200-foot tall straight trunk, and lumbering took most of them out, and they're working on bringing them back. But we went to see some of the older ones on the nature trail after we first cleaned
your feet.
In this case, I brushed the bottoms of my boots and then stepped on the spring-loaded green one, and the disinfectant sprayed up from below on my feet.
Yeah, you could see the wet, but you couldn't see the spray.
We were able to walk down a native kauri forest where we got the tree ferns. These are not trees; they are tree ferns. I had to go under the road, beautifully decorated native indigenous style art, where we're seeing tree ferns. Now this tree fern is about 35 feet tall, and it is supporting one of the native vines growing up it and into the deeper forest. A rimu tree. It's one of their evergreens. This is called red pine by the English, but rimu is the Maori name for it, and the name that is preferred now. Beautiful bark on things like I told you the name of this one earlier. Coffee tree. Not coffee like you drink in the morning, but K-A-W-H-A-I, kauri tree, and coffee tree, because W-H is pronounced an F. This is a silver fern. It's one of the tree ferns, very silver on the underside. And these ferns don't have bark, and they don't have wood, and they don't have woody roots. They have fern-like roots. But they can become a forest. Here's a whole stand of them. The path is very well maintained in these nature centers and very respectful of the soil. They're using geogrid. People ask us sometimes what geogrid is. See this honeycomb type plastic lab matrix filled with gravel, so that my foot is, the plastic matrix is taking the weight of my foot, not the soil below. And we showed you earlier when we were talking about sculpture, the young lancewood tree. And the older lancewood tree looks like a broccoli. According to the naturalists, that was because the giant moa used to love to eat this one. And so it adapted to grow leaves that were thin, like we showed you earlier, and hanging down, that were not so easy for the moa to eat or as tasteful for them to eat. But once it got taller than the giant moa, it began producing the mature leaves. And there are a number of plants that have different mature and adult, mature and juvenile foliage, many of the junipers, for instance. But this form change is a real winner.
There
we've got one of the younger kauri trees coming up above the other trees, because all of those others, the coffee tree, I can't say these names right even when I'm able to spell them right, because I don't roll my R's or elongate my U's properly. But eventually they'll be the understory underneath what should belong here. And they're great. Look at this root coming out along the path for one of them.
It was a long route.
They're very jungly, many tree ferns. And as we said before, and this is in to remind us to tell you, a lot of debris that in a natural area like this is not picked up, and is not fire hazard. It's quite moist here.
You see why when they travel through certain areas, you need a machete or something, because off the paths, you would have had a hard time.
Yeah, getting through. So we're looking for the kauri trees. They are pyramidal, as you see on the left when they're young, and we showed you a younger one now that was probably about 80 feet tall. They're going to be 150, 200, sometimes taller than that, with a very straight trunk. This is not a child's rendition of what a kauri looks like. This is a kauri's trunk. It is a straight trunk, not fluted or tapering in like the giant redwoods do, but straight up and down and very thick. You can make, we've read 80 times as much lumber from one of those trees as you could from any pine that got that tall, and some of the pines can get that tall. Beautiful bark, just gorgeous bark as it gets older. And branches generally, it loses its branches naturally on the lower part of the tree, so that it's usually not branched to close to 100 feet up. And unfortunately, for some purposes, lots and lots of up and down hills to get to where these kauris were, so that our photographer ended up saying, you know, if I've got another downhill to go past those Nico palms and another downhill, it means I've got an awful lot of uphills to go back.
And some of us,
Steve hip sometimes doesn't work right for him. So we lost Steve before the last of the downhills. He noticed as he went back that, look, they tell you right where the defibrillators are. Must be for people like me. When we got to the older kauris that are there that were 500 years old, it probably says on here, about 500 years old as far as they could tell. Here they are. It was a cathedral-like circle of them around the place that the path ended. And I cannot begin to describe to you how big these trees are. It wasn't like looking at a giant redwood where the tree was, those giant redwoods, some of those must have been 15, 20, 25 feet across.
30, so maybe.
These were massive in a different way. Sonia is about 50 feet in front of that trunk of that tree, which was probably on this young 500-year-old kauri, probably at least 8-9 feet across and straight up into the sky, straight like a Roman column. Now we had the great privilege of having a native and very knowledgeable New Zealander with us, Sonia's buddy from college, who I am so glad that Sonia met.
Yeah,
because they are sisters from ages and ages ago. She is also a professor. She is music and English are her fields, but she has all her life loved the native plants, knows a lot about them, and was helping us identify, find the places to go and take a look at things, understand the difference between one thing and another. And next week, Erin will be with us, so you can hear some of the things that we're talking to you about explained in more depth as she chooses to give us, and certainly in better pronunciation.
Yeah, with a New Zealander accent.
Yeah. Okay, so that was the Nature Center. And oh, that was supposed to say Pia Beach. Pia, P-I-H-A, is a small town, not very many services, mostly just residences, and a beautiful black sand beach on the west coast of the northern part of the North Island. And that rock, or what looks like a rock out there, is much more than a rock. That's a tree up there at the top. That is a tree. That is a large tree up at the top of that. Beautiful, beautiful offshore cliffs and rock formations. Sonia and Erin and Cam scouring the beach for interesting things.
And it was just...
I was over by the rock. I thought I was in this picture. Am I?
No, you were more to the left.
Anyway, I would be a little dot at the bottom of the rock. I was over at the rock while other people were out getting their feet wet
And
taking pictures. and finding cool things.
Yeah.
Steve came over to take pictures of what I was looking at and what I was fascinated by. Well, he took pictures, lots of pictures. It was
The
a very
water.
misty, moisty day. It was,
And the
roll.
crashing of the waves.
the tide was coming in. It was low tide with tide coming in. Some of the locals brought their horses down. They rolled in the sand and pawed in the
To watch a
sand.
horse roll in a sand like a dog rolls in something is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And
There's
there I am.
Janet.
There I am. That blue dot is my
Right
coat
there.
over there. I'm walking along, looking at the change from the vegetated top part to the side that's basically coming apart. This is all volcanic rock, and I don't know volcanic rock. I'm fascinated by this, basically what was a sludge picking up other smaller rocks, flowing along and now crumbling as the waves beat it up on the edges, just breaking into pieces like concrete, but with barnacles growing everywhere on it, life everywhere, telling you that this is high tide is a little bit, there's going to be more water here in a
Yes.
while.
Watch out.
A community of people that that mostly don't work here. There are really no industries here and no big services. There's not even a gas
Oh,
station.
in this town.
Yeah, in this town, in the town of Pia. You have to go about 20 kilometers before you can get to a gas station. But
Mhm.
people who have chosen this lifestyle and are living for the view and conceivably the wind
Yeah.
and the
Storms.
tsunami sign danger,
Yeah.
get uphill if we get one of those coming in.
Right.
Beautiful houses. So we'll leave Pia Beach. Wasn't a good day to really show you how black the sand was because of the way the light was.
Oh, the light was very strange.
Yeah. And also from Auckland, we headed to Matamata, where Hobbiton exists. Now, if you are not a Lord of the Rings reader or movie person, then you may not know about this. But even if you don't know about this, it is an interesting thing to take a look
It is
at.
very cool.
In the area just outside of Matamata, the producers of the Lord of the Rings movies built Hobbiton, the one of the sets that they needed to show the little people, the 3 foot tall race of people in that trilogy. And this area was a 1,250 acre farm with sheep on it that they found a place in it and worked with the owner to build a village of holes, hobbit holes. So these hobbit houses are under the hills. So we're looking at a round door. The doors are round. And the rest of the house is built back into the hill. And this is a set. This
is a movie set.
Was built for the 3-movie trilogy and the Lord of the Rings. It was then torn down after they were done. It was completely built as you see it here. Then it was rebuilt when the producers decided to make the prequel movie, The Hobbit. It was rebuilt, and when it was rebuilt, the owner of the farm said, I think we're going to build that for permanence, and we'll keep it open because people should see this. And they bring people out to take a look at it. There are, I think they said 40 of these houses here. Most of them are just facade. Each one distinct.
Just like a unique community.
Each one gardened
differently
and prettily, and gardened in order to look like it belongs there. So there are plants growing through the cracks. There are weed grasses growing into the gardens on the edges.
And there are gardeners here.
And such details, such
little details that just...
All of this for, I can't remember how many minutes of the movie they said was filmed here. Not very many minutes. And yet all of this was put together with details like the chimneys of the hobbit holes back on the hill, the windows of the house that is under that hill showing
laundry,
each window beautifully leaded, a fragrant smoke coming out of the smokestack there. They were burning manuka wood that day, and it smelled very good. Details that I loved, that like the wattle and
Wattle
there was
fences.
Janet saying, get me the detail of how they made that wattle fence, Steve. I want to know how to do that, when it was made.
Mhm.
And there are all chimneys sticking out on the top of the hill there. And at the top of the hill,
Actually, I just want to say those were bee boxes for the sake of Michelle and other beekeepers.
Oh, that's
That was
right.
the
Those
beekeepers'
are the bee
houses.
boxes.
yeah, there were that's right. They explained to me that the chimneys were all taller. There's a
Yeah,
chimney,
chimney there.
right?
Yeah.
That's right. Beehives. At the top of the hill, the house that the main character of the Hobbit and Lord of the Rings trilogies lived in, Bilbo Baggins. This is Bag End on anyway, the main house at the top of the hill, where you walk up the steps and in the door. And at the top of that, a tree that was made to match the description of the author of Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien's description of the party tree.
That's not the party. That's the tree on the party trees down on the field.
Okay, the tree that was meant to go
On top of Bag End.
That is actually called the party tree. They
It
filmed
is.
the party on
Okay,
the wrong
sorry.
location. If you
I should have known
love
better.
the book, you know that they had the field of the party, not quite where it's supposed to be in the books. I'm the geek. But yes, that is the party tree.
Okay.
Yeah, well, we're geeks too, but not as well informed. But anyway, the party tree, they needed a tree in that place that looked that way, and there was not a tree there, so they made a tree.
Well, they found one and they took it down and put it back up in pieces, a real tree that then of course passed away.
And in order to film again, they constructed this is an artificial tree with 100,000 leaves,
200,000
200,000 leaves wired in place on
Yep.
the tree. Looks pretty good, and like most artificial plants, will last a long time as long as it gets enough rain to keep it clean.
Yep.
So looking from Bag End down over the Hobbiton village, you're looking down on your neighbors here, looking across the green bird and out to where the sheep are in the fields, and down on your neighbors' places and your gardener's home. This is our host's son, Sam, and he is holding his Sam or Samwise doll there because Sam is the gardener's name.
And
I'm glad that we are not quite any shorter than we are. We haven't shrunk enough yet that we were not asked to be one of the models, because Sam was asked to stand there and to explain that he was 4 foot something, so that people could understand the size of a hobbit was under 4 feet.
Yep.
Beautiful garden at the gardener's house. I'm working on remembering what the name of this glory vine is. It might be a glory vine. Next to it, blue, so you know if it's blooming. And the real gardeners, and there are gardeners, for 2 hours every single day, the gardeners get to work before people begin to come into the gardens.
And they need it. There's a lot of gardens there.
A lot of gardening to do there.
And the maintenance was amazing.
Our friends here, Chris and Aaron, have been there. This is their 3rd visit. And they said it doesn't get old. It's still beautiful. And they're glad that they came this year with
And
us.
these are all the bee boxes.
They came here with us in October, which is spring, because they'd been here in the summer before, and it's quite a bit browner. It's a dry area in the summertime. Looking across, not at your village, but across the little pond, you see the Ned's Green Dragon Inn, brewery and inn, and you can walk over to that across the lake. In this place, they have a venue where you can have parties.
Yeah.
And, up to, I think they said 230 people. Beautifully constructed. There's the bar with the green dragon above the
over
bar.
it.
Beautiful round windows and nice lighting inside, and a real thatch roof.
Real thatch.
That's an actual thatch roof on the mill building right across from the Green Dragon. They were rethatching.
There's a thatcher.
Thatching with rushes. And there's our party.
That's us.
So that's where we've been so far. Now we're on the South Island. We are currently in Franz Josef, near the Fox Glacier, Sonia.
We're near the Franz Josef Glacier. We're also near the Fox Glacier, but we are nearest to the Franz Josef Glacier right now.
And it is on the west coast, kind of northwest coast or near the northwest coast. We're off the coast now. We've come in off the coast to be up near the glacier of the South Island. And we will be reporting next week to all who would like to be here. It's open to everybody. So let people know if you think they'd be interested in it. What's going on in the South Island. We'll tell you right now, just before we get into whatever questions you might have about what's going on in your gardens or what we just saw here, because we're open to questions about any gardening topic. But we will tell you that this webinar will not be posted as a video this week yet.
No, we're not going to take our time to edit and post it. You'll have to wait till we get back.
Too many cool, overwhelming things to see in this place that we've never been before on the far side
Just
of the world.
blown us away.
Yep.
Just totally so cool.
Yeah. So any questions?
We do have a question from Janet about how is a tree fern not a tree? So can you talk about what is it that makes a tree, that something tall enough to look like a tree is not a tree?
What makes a tree in the biologist, the botanist rating is that it has a vascular system that has the wood on the inside, which are cells that become non-reproductive, and living xylem, living phloem on the outside. So it becomes a structure. It has wood on the inside, living growing cells on the outside. Ferns don't grow that way. Their cells are organized in a different way. So they are, by botanists, categorized as lesser plants, as herbaceous plants. If you snap a fern off, it can actually grow, well, so can many trees, but it can grow back and grow in a different way, but it supports itself in a different way too. So they are, by the botanist definition, technically not a tree, and yet they are 30 feet tall
or taller.
Most people look at them and think they're some kind of palm tree, but they are fern-like leaves on them, and they grow spores on them. They don't grow coconuts or date palms or dates or any of those other things. So it's a technicality.
And I think we're just getting some thank yous in the chat. Oh, Carol's wondering if we could scoot back to look at the wattle slide again. Can we do a quick scoot back to look at the wattle again?
Yep, close your eyes because it'll go by quickly and we don't want to. Oh, the wattle fence.
Yes, we will be in Christchurch at the end of the week. And yeah, my husband and I, who both knew the cathedral square before the earthquake, we will definitely want to see what it's looking like now. So we'll make sure to take some of those pictures. Squeaks is saying in the chat here that they were married there in 1986 in that cathedral that the earthquake partially destroyed. So we'll look at it and we'll think of you, Squeaks.
Is that amazing? I just love this. One of the gardeners that we talked to looked at my hat, which had an M on it. He said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Michigan." He said, "I should have known that from me." And he'd been in Ann Arbor. He was thinking about doing his graduate work at U of M.
U of M, yeah.
So you come across the world and find somebody that's been in almost your hometown.
Yep. He even knew what gold blue meant.
Pretty quickly too.
So there's the wattle, but I see a hand from Janet.
Okay, here's a surprise, totally off topic. You said in our gardens is okay.
Sure.
We had cut down trees, so we have logs around our generator, which has been in for 5 years. We went out and one of those logs, which is dead, is now growing a branch and has green leaves on it.
Well, then it's not dead, is it?
Nope.
But it's like there's no roots. There's no, I don't know. We haven't picked the thing up.
Are you sure that it's not a seedling of something else growing up around it?
No.
I have definitely seen wood sit for 2 years and sprout.
You see it in the forest all the
stays-
time. If an arborvitae falls, it might pop up.
If it stays moist enough, it can do that. I can't imagine other than that what could have happened.
Maybe I'll take a picture.
Yeah,
Yep.
5 years.
Yep. Do you know what kind of tree it was that you stacked up there? Because that's, if you know what you stacked up, then you can tell for sure what's coming up from it. Because their seeds can get started in moist wood. That's certainly how that little hebe was growing in the tree along the street in here in Auckland. So it's possible that it's that. But I've seen them go for 2 years, where I cut them this year, and I thought they were good to use for
Yep.
wattle. And I stuck them into the ground the second year, and there was enough moisture
still
there that they
sprouted.
sprouted. Yeah,
Okay,
Compares
I'll
to
take a-
wattle.
plants are amazing things, aren't they?
Okay.
And with that, we are going to go to bed because it is
3 a.m.
is it 3 a.m.? Yes,
3 a.m..
3:03 in the morning here, and it's time for us to go to bed so that we can
Keep on moving.
continue on our way around the island. Thank you very much for being here. Tell people to come and join us next week. See you then.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
weekend, everyone.